Hey everybody, it's Paul McFarlane, me again, with another Chiat Day binder video. This one might be a little bit shorter. We're going to talk about Chiat Day with one of the very, very, very few clients they ever had that was inherently, essentially, and completely humor. Yeah, Chiat Day is normally audacious confidence and swagger, which is what I really love. But Olympia beer was a rare example of pure fun because the story is really told well in the Rizzoli book. And my bookmark, courtesy Sarah Brzezinski, tells the story of how Olympia beer up in Olympia, Washington, actually called Chiat Day in and said, we need some help. And they'd seen, when you're known as a creative agency, you get people calling you. Really. And sales had not been that good. They tried to do a national rollout, wasn't really happening, and they just said, here, try something. And the team, of course, said, well, what do you have that's unique? What's the unique selling proposition, all that kind of stuff. And it was just something about artesian water, which is well water, which is spring water, artesian springs, whatever. They thought, oh, what is that? What is that? And so basically, Olympia at that time was a really hated beer. I was a beer can collector, and Olympia was kind of like a very exotic American beer. I was curious about it. It just looked like it tasted good to me. So they said, do anything. So they had fun with the artisans. Who are the artisans? And it caught on. I mean, they like to tell the story that the team themselves, when they were there, they saw a bumper sticker, I break for artisans, because there's a lot of things you can do when you go into something creating a character, or actually in this case not a character, but a mythological world almost. And the thing was, they did in a unique way that I think has been copied a few times. Who are the artisans? They seem to exist. The Rizzoli book, the binder. They seem to exist, but who are they? Can we find them? So it was like man on the road interviews, talking to mountain men who, I've seen them, and they've got, and having a poor memory, and I think that's very smart. But they seem to be mischievous too. So remember, we chase what runs away from us. So the fact that we never really delivered on what an artisan was, and kept that up, it was pretty good, because you can do that for a long time. But however, it makes the beer good, but and they had it's like, Dad, where do artisans come from? Ask your mother. That spot. And the one that most people know is the one where Lee Cloud got to put in his relatives' names. Delmer and Martha Clow. That's the one where they're being interviewed, that they've got our two children, Harold and Annette. But they're mostly talking about the beer. It was just humor, absolute great humor. Because as I've said many times, thank you, Brother Rob, the basic 7 human stories, comedy. Comedy is usually the realm of candy, beer, fast food, where there's really nothing to say. It gets pretty boring quickly talking about hops and barley as if that's, and so you go into something funny. And because Olympia had this artesian brewing water, like Budweiser has its beechwood aging, but they've never, ever, ever made fun of beechwood aging because the story doesn't hold up. It's just fun to say. But with artesian water, going right into self-deprecating humor is irresistible, and it was very popular. They even had a fairly famous B actor, as if the night watchman there, where you almost get the presence of him without being silly. They have the groundskeeper, where he's talking, and the artisans are playing pranks and turning on the what do you call it, the sprinkler hose right on him, so it's just really good physical comedy and mental comedy. The mountain man guy, again, the more you chase it, the more it can disappear. So it went on for quite a few years, And it really started to really catch on. And, even when you go for an artesian sports presentation, it just became its own culture. You really have to trust this, that when you create an alternate universe for your brand, where it does things differently and you create a mythology about something based in humor, everyone knows it's a joke, you can do it for a long time. But as the story sort of ended, Olympia, being a small independent brewery, in that time when small independent breweries were disappearing, do you realize now we have more American beers than ever in history by an X factor of 10? Go into your local grocery store and see how many different cans and bottles there are. If you go back about 30 years, there was next to nothing. The microbrewery revolution has just given us more flavors, more choices than ever before. It's an overwhelmingly, almost bewildering place to be in as a beer drinker. But again, at that time, Olympia got bought out by a larger concern, and as they say, they didn't believe in artisans. So it was one of those things that happens in advertising where your client disappears. So remember, whatever your client is, whoever your client is, in this case, Olympia Beer, I don't care who you have, realize it has a half-life. And as soon as you get it, you start to lose it. So make sure while you have it, do the very, very best work you possibly can. Because I don't care how much you think you're going to have that client forever, something out of your control perhaps, a buyout, a switch in management, whatever will happen. So what are you left with? You don't have the client anymore. You got to have the work. You got to have the work that will tell other people, I want that kind of work. And artisans, as simple as that is, and how potentially uncharacteristically Chiat it was to go full humor. It shows they could do it, and they did it in a really, really fun way. Like a lot of older things, it's hard to find on social media any of the old Olympia commercials, but look for them and find them. So again, the message for today is I don't care if you're doing something in virtual reality, if you're doing something. See, that's the thing about virtual reality. It's hyper reality. It's got to be so real, so real. In metaverse speak, I'm sorry I said the M word, 1,000 pardons. Do you think in Web 3.0, VR kind of world, you could create a mythical, invisible something that you search for and search for and search for, but where is it, where is it, where is it? Like the artisans, could it be done? Do you believe something like that could be done today? Could you make humor out of something that is impossible to find? When the hyper-definiteness and the hyper-reality, so-called, of the metaverse, could we actually create a captivating, compelling, attractive brand by something that runs away when you look for it? Chiat. That quality of thinking is always in fashion. No, in fashion? No, it's always necessary. I believe in artisans. But do you? See you tomorrow.